Representative Rubio, welcome to New Mexico in Focus. Thank you so much for being with me today to talk about environmental legislation that passed and didn't pass this session. I'm curious to start off, what are the most important environmental bills in your mind that did pass this year?
I think that there was a number of bills, but I was actually really excited. Senate Bill 112 was signed by the governor yesterday, and it creates a sustainable sustainable economy task force. And this piece of legislation, while just on the surface is just talks about a task force, it's really, there's a lot of really good things inside the bill, which codifies a workforce development study that was conducted by the University of New Mexico and the Department of Workforce Solutions, as well as creating an advisory council that centers frontline workers. And so for me, I believe that we get to reaching climates, we get to address climate issues much quicker when we center them on through an economic lens and how it impacts workers. And I believe Senate Bill 112 starts to do that.
Okay. Any others that you were happy about this session?
Yeah, I mean, I know she signed the solar bill yesterday. The community solar bill. There's quite a number that were signed yesterday related to the environment, and I know that there's a cohort of us legislators who will be getting together this week to start already working on next session and making sure that climate is at the center of our budget legislative session next year.
Are there any other bills that didn't make it through the session this year that you are already talking about bringing back next session?
I mean, I think so. I mean, for me, I wanted this last session to be super transformational. I mean, that was really the purpose of my goal. And for me, transformational meaning, COVID-19, I think we can all agree, unveiled a lot of inequities here in the state, inequities that I think myself and many others have been talking about for many years through our organizing work around the state. And so I think we went in with a lot of really good momentum, but unfortunately, the legislative institution is still relatively conservative when it comes to issues around racial and social justice as well as climate justice. And so I think that for those of my colleagues in the House, we are determined. I still have issues with just fundamentally how our legislature doesn't get to do as much work during the year as I think we should. And so my hope is that with whatever efforts we can make between now and July, when the budget talks start to really pick up, that we can make a lot of this climate and environmental work a priority.
Curious, since you were first elected, social justice issues and environmental issues, you've really been ahead of the curve on both of those. I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about the intersection of those two issues and why they're so important for New Mexicans?
Yeah. So one, thank you for that question, because I think that we as a state have missed the mark in a lot of ways in previous years, because many of these movements, as important as they are, were very siloed. And I think I was just having this conversation earlier with someone around the Outdoor Equity Fund, which passed the legislature back in 2019 and was a part of the creation of the Division of Outdoor Recreation, is that there was so much mobilization around that piece of legislation that so much of that momentum carried on. And so you had environmental groups this past year working just as fiercely as ever on economic and social issues that were important to many of the organizations that were working on other issues like paid sick leave or anything related to early childhood development. And so I think it's really exciting for me being a legislator in the course of the last 4 years, that so much of my work that I've been doing as an organizer has now really sort of infiltrated into the legislature and has really created this intersectionality that I think even legislators are really starting to recognize.
As you mentioned, next year's session is focused on the budget. How does climate change, oil and gas industry, how do all these issues tie into the budget, and what legislation might might we be looking at next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question that I think a lot of us are going to be really navigating over the course of the next few months, because as many of your viewers know, oil and gas is predominantly part of the revenues that come into our state. And so there are many of us who've been working on ideas around economic diversification and what that looks like for our state. And I know that we just passed the legalization of recreational cannabis. We have an outdoor economy that's really starting to pick up. And I think for many others, I think that's why this Senate Bill 112 was so critical, because it allows for us to reimagine a completely different revenue sources for the state, so that we can think about other opportunities. And so I think that's also going to be a challenge moving into the session next year, that it depends on where oil and gas revenues are between now and July, and then again in December, and then again in January when we start up again, because we have sort of perpetuated this cycle of dependence on this industry. And while it's been very good to our state, it actually doesn't allow us to plan ahead. And so my hope is that as we begin to develop and really diversify our economy, that we sort of push back on this narrative that that while we might be in terms of economics not have as many resources as other states, that we actually can build a new vision for New Mexico, and we have to do that without relying so heavily on one industry, and really letting frontline workers and communities really create these opportunities for that imagination and for those ideas. And so for the budget next year, it'll certainly be interesting. And I think we're just going to have to be very strategic on how we prioritize climate while still navigating that income source.
Representative Rubio, thanks for joining me on New Mexico in Focus, and thank you for your service to our state.
No, thank you.